In June 1995, a pop confection hit thousands of movie screens. It seemed to embody what both boosters and critics have identified as the 90s end of history nonchalance. It was, of all things, a Batman movie, and holding it together, the sturdy, straight man surrounded by abject goofiness was Val Kilmer, the actor who died at the age of 65 on Tuesday. Batman Forever was the third movie in a franchise kicked off in 1989 by the director Tim Burton's brooding Batman. Starring Michael Keaton in the title role and Jack Nicholson as the Joker, Batman was, by the standards of the time, dark for a comic book flick. Tim Burton's and Michael Keaton's follow up, Batman Returns in 1992, failed to repeat the original's box office success, so a new director, Joel Schumacher, was brought in expressly to make what one journalist termed a Batman light. Schumacher was a fan of Kilmer's portrayal of Doc Holliday in the 1993 western Tombstone and tapped him as his leading man. This was not Burton's Batman. There's not much to contemplate here. The film critic for the New York Times, Janet Maslin, wrote, beyond the spectacle of gimmicky props and the kish of good actors dressed for a red hot Halloween, Joel Schumacher favored showy camera angles and a garish color scheme. The villains, Jim Carrey played the Riddler, Tommy Lee Jones was Two-Face, were freely permitted to chew the scenery. Batman's suit had nipples. The movie was weird. It was also a box office smash. It broke an opening weekend record and eventually brought in more than 336 million American dollars worldwide, besting its predecessor by tens of millions of dollars. This was the highest profile role played by Val Kilmer when he played Batman and Bruce Wayne as Stolid. Val Kilmer romances Nicole Kidman's psychologist with aw shucks respectability. He combats his antagonist's ridiculousness with a straight face. His Wayne is tortured and guilt racked, and also middle aged. No longer just a son seeking vengeance, he becomes a father figure to an orphaned young man, who turns out to become Robin, played by Chris O'Donnell. The outlandishness of Batman Forever was recognized almost immediately as emblematic of the 90s. The next year, the French director Olivier Assayas made Irma Vep, a satire of modern blockbuster movie making. While the sleek black suit that the star of the film within the film must wear is most obviously a reference to Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman of Batman Returns, the gaudy aesthetic is all Batman Forever. There have since been efforts to reclaim Kilmer's film as something of an unsung masterpiece. Vera Drew, the director of last year's art house independent movie The People's Joker, credited Batman Forever as its primary influence. But Val Kilmer was one and done as the Caped Crusader. He did not return for Schumacher's follow up Batman and Robin in 1997, and decades later told the Times that the role felt like too much of a cipher. It's not about Batman. There is no Batman, Val Kilmer said. Val Kilmer was replaced by George Clooney. Batman and Robin was a relative flop, best remembered today for the execrable puns uttered by Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze. Alright, everyone, chill. That iteration of the franchise ended there. The kind of comic book movie that Batman Forever typified faded away, to be replaced the following decade by the grittiness of Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy and the real world irony of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not counting his brief appearance 3 years ago in Top Gun Maverick, Val Kilmer was never again in so big a movie. But Batman Forever is an immaculate artifact of its time, in much the same manner as Top Gun, another of Val Kilmer's most memorable films. It was not the best 90s movie, Batman Forever, but it may have been the most 90s movie. When historians wish to learn what it was like to live in the United States of America during the height of its unipolar moment atop the world, they could do worse than to dust off Kilmer's Batman suit, nipples and all.